In the vast Soviet Union, a new kind of fear crept into daily life, one that haunted bus stops, train platforms, and the faces of strangers. It wasn't the Cold War's political dread, but something more intimate, the terror of a predator hiding in plain sight. For 12 years, this fear had a name, though few knew it: Andrei Chikatilo, the Rostov Ripper. He was a ghost in the crowd, a man so ordinary he vanished into the background. The Soviet system insisted serial killers were a Western disease, leaving the public vulnerable and the killer free. Chikatilo was a family man, a teacher, a loyal party member, utterly unremarkable, and that was his camouflage. The real horror, the monster, wasn't a myth, but the man beside you on the bus or train today. We revisit this case not just as true crime, but as a window into a society in denial. Chikatilo's rampage exposed the cracks in the Soviet facade, revealing how a system's obsession with image let evil thrive. The fear he created was more than of one man. It was the terror that the state meant to protect you was powerless. The story of Chikatilo is the story of a society unable to face its own darkness. His crimes forced a reckoning with the myth of Soviet safety. The shadow he cast was as much about the system as the man himself. To understand Chikatilo, you must understand the Soviet world that shaped him. The USSR prided itself on order and conformity, but beneath the surface, bureaucracy and secrecy ruled. State-run transport and anonymous crowds gave Chikatilo endless hunting grounds. His job as a traveling supply clerk let him move freely, blending in as just another functionary. The Soviet refusal to admit serial killers existed meant police worked in silos, never connecting the dots. Each murder was treated as an isolated case, not part of a larger pattern. Chikatilo exploited this denial, moving from town to town, always one step ahead. The system's insistence on ideological purity blinded it to the reality of evil within. Law enforcement's lack of cooperation and information sharing let the killings continue unchecked. The Soviet machine, meant to protect, became the perfect cover for a predator. In the end, it was the system's rigidity that allowed Chikatilo to thrive. Chikatilo's childhood was marked by trauma and deprivation in famine-stricken Ukraine. Stories of abuse, chronic illness, and humiliation shaped his early years. Bullied and isolated, he grew up feeling powerless and ashamed, especially due to emotional dysfunction. He tried to fit the Soviet ideal: education, marriage, party membership, but darkness festered beneath. Accusations of abuse when he was a teacher were quietly covered up, never confronted. These failures and humiliations fueled his rage and need for control. Chikatilo's violence was not excused by his past, but it was shaped by it. His crimes became his twisted way to assert power in a life defined by impotence. From 1978 to 1990, Chikatilo committed at least 53 murders, targeting men, women, and children. His victims were chosen for vulnerability, not type, making his attacks unpredictable. He lured them from train stations and bus stops with a friendly face and false promises. Once isolated, his violence was explosive, a release of lifelong humiliation and rage. The brutality was ritualistic, a desperate assertion of dominance. Communities in Rostov lived in fear. Parents kept children inside. Strangers became suspects. The police, unable to catch him, lost public trust. The forest strips became symbols of terror. Chikatilo was more than a killer. He was proof the system couldn't protect its own people. His reign exposed the vulnerability beneath Soviet order. The hunt for Chikatilo was massive, but crippled by Soviet denial and bureaucracy. Investigators refused to believe in a serial killer, treating each murder as unrelated. Police departments hoarded information, missing crucial patterns. In 1984, Chikatilo was arrested but released due to a rare blood type anomaly, a fatal forensic error. This mistake emboldened him and the killings escalated. The investigation wasted years chasing the wrong suspects, trapped by rigid thinking. Thousands were questioned, but the real killer slipped through their fingers. The system's failures were scientific, procedural, and imaginative. Chikatilo's freedom was a direct result of institutional blindness. The cost was dozens more lives lost before the truth was faced. Chikatilo's capture came through relentless police work, not science. In 1990, undercover patrols saturated his hunting grounds. A suspicious officer stopped Chikatilo, finding a rope and knife. He was finally arrested. Investigators linked his travel to the murders, building a case piece by piece. Psychiatrist Dr. Bukhanovsky broke through Chikatilo's defenses, drawing out a confession by understanding his psyche. Chikatilo confessed in chilling detail to the dozens of murders. His 1992 trial was a spectacle. He ranted, disrupted, and was caged for his own safety. Ultimately, he was convicted of 52 murders and sentenced to death. The Ripper of Rostov's reign ended, but the scars remained. The trial exposed the failures that let him kill for so long. Justice, though delayed, was finally served. The case became a turning point for Russian law enforcement. Chikatilo's execution in 1994 closed his story, but his legacy haunts Russia. His crimes shattered the myth that evil was only a Western problem. The case forced Russia to modernize its investigative methods and confront uncomfortable truths. Psychological profiling and forensic science advanced in response to his spree. For many, Chikatilo became a symbol of absolute evil and a warning about trust and safety. The trauma he caused lingered, changing how people viewed strangers and public spaces. His story is a lesson in the dangers of denial and institutional blindness. Chikatilo thrived in the cracks of a crumbling system. The Ripper of Rostov remains a chilling reminder. Monsters can exist anywhere, especially where we refuse to look.